Now, chapter 5 and 6, they both deal with bringing data into R. Chapter 5 is base R, okay, the functions that are available in R itself. In chapter 6, we're going to look at a library that makes data, reading data more efficient. Okay, so right now we will look at the base functions. Okay, and there are two. Okay, there is read.table and then read.csv, and they have the same kind of options. So if you go to RStudio, then if you say read.table, okay, with a question mark, okay, that's going to open up a help file here, okay, documentation. Okay, so we have read.table and a bunch of options that are available to you, and then we have read.csv and so on. Okay, the two functions that we will use, the read.table, but even more so read.csv. Okay. And then here are some more functions that are available. And then for writing data out, we have write.table and then write.csv as well. Okay. Now, you can check the working directory path with getwd. Then you can set the folder path using setwd. Okay. So if I go and type here in the console getwd, so if you made a mistake and you want to repeat it, okay, you press the up arrow key in the console, it will bring the previous command. So I have to put parentheses. No, it tells me what the path is. Okay, so if I just simply read data without giving any path, R is going to look there. Okay. Now you can set the path. Okay. So I have documents, right? So this is where I am. So my path is okay, so that's the path. Okay. And now, okay, let me try something here. Okay. So we want to read a tab. We want to read a file. Okay, so this is a tab limited file. Okay. Read.table. Okay. Now I'm trying to see whether this current folder path is this, or is it from the folder where I opened this file? Okay. And if it is if it is from where I open the RMD file, which is here, then all I have to do is to say data and then give the name of the file. Okay, let's try that and see whether that works. Attrition dot text. Okay, it worked. Okay. Now, read.table by default is looking for tab delimited data. Okay. So if you open the attrition.txt file in text editor, okay, so you see that the data columns are tabbed over. And you should also note one more thing here, which is if you look at this data, okay, the first row has column names, okay, and the column names are read as is, okay, so which is good. Okay. So in read.table, the first row column names is default. Okay. Header equal to true is the default. We don't have to say anything. But if that is not the case, then you have to say header is false. Because if that's not the case, if the file started here, then these values will be used as header names, column names. We don't want that. Okay. And you notice that the data starts from 4, 5, 7, and so on. It skipped the first two rows. Okay. The first two rows are skipped because that again is the default. Okay, and I'll tell you, let's talk about that now. So here, these are some, we already saw there are a lot of options, but here are some important ones.
Why did you set the path? Because I can't get mine to read in.
No, for the path to work, you need to make sure that the data is saved in a folder called data, okay, subfolder from the folder where you have the RMD file. So wherever you saved your RMD file, okay, from that folder, okay, there must be a subfolder called data, and the data should be in that subfolder. Okay. All right, so these are some of the important options that we can use. Of course, the first one is the file. Obviously, header is true is the default, so which means the first row is header. And then for table, read.table, SEP is what? Tab. Okay, so you don't have to specify, that's the default. So this is the how columns are separated, right? And then we can use call classes. Okay, we'll see an example of this later on. Call classes is a character vector, okay, that says what is the data type for each column. Okay. You don't have to specify that. Okay. Read.table will automatically try to figure out what the data type is. As you can see here, it's already read the attrition data and assigned data types. Okay, so here is daily rate is integer, right? Department is character, and so on. So R will automatically, read.table will automatically figure out what the data type is. Okay? But if you want to override that, then you can specify using call classes. Okay? N rows is how many rows you want to read. Of course, the default is you read all of them. Okay? Then we have comment.char. So that is comment character. Comment character is pound sign. The default is pound sign. That's the reason why these two rows, pound sign 1, pound sign 2, were not read here, because pound sign says that that line is a comment and we are not going to read it. Okay? But if you do want to read it, then you can say comment dot char, say, is nothing. Okay, if you just have two quotation marks, that means all rows will be read no matter what. Okay, so now the first two rows are read. And then we have skip, which we use for skipping a number of lines to skip. So if at the top you have some metadata information and the data starts after a few rows, then you say skip and then specify how many rows to skip. Okay. And then this is a new one for us in R, strings as factors. The default is false, so it'll, when you read character data, it'll come in as character. But if you want those values to be converted into a factor as we read the data, then we have to say as factor, strings as factor equal to true. So let's look at this. Okay, so read.table, comment char. Okay, let's remove that. Okay, we want only we don't want to read lines with a pound sign at the beginning, and then say n row equal to 100, which means you're going to read only 100 lines of data, and then string as factors equal to true. Okay. So now you will see, okay, right now attrition is being read as a character. Business travel is being read as a character, right? Now with strings as factor, so you see it is being read in as a factor because we are saying string as character, string as factor equal to true. So string as factor equal to false is the default.